great news, y'all. I have big news, man, and you see me, I'm smiling from ear to ear. We're starting things off right with the comments this week because I have to answer a very important question. This week's chapter did not only have one of the greatest, craziest, most hilarious pages in the entire series in the Gorosei spread. Finally seeing all of their names. Savagery by Emu. Elevating all of them to a higher level, whether unintentionally or intentionally, in terms of entertainment and also in terms of overall value to the story. So many things. Emu's name officially revealed. Instant Messenger Sama, though I will continue to call you that. Now I see, after taking me out in the middle of the stream, that I must show you a little more respect in these streams, because if not, I'm going to continue to get taken out, right? So, a little more respect. Obviously, craziness with Garling, aka me, right? And other insanity that was within the chapter. But before all of that, the most important thing that we have to say first and foremost before anything else is that I have beaten the allegations. The allegations that I was either that one guy in the random panel this week with the mustache, or whether I am Garling. And I am happy to say today that I am, in fact, Saint Fagerland Recon. And this is why Presno comes in and says, first of all, the most important question, did your hairdresser read the chapter? Did you evolve into Coach Goldbaldy Recon? Y'all see the hair? Let me turn it. Ooh, no. Oh, man. Listen. Just imagine Crescent right here. I am here today, not as Baldy Recon, but as Saint Fagerland Recon. The Mother Flame, aka, according to the Viz, the Mother Frame, is probably some sort of energy source to make the ancient weapons move. And they took it for a test, or they took it out for a test drive. Because as Dragon said, it's very unlikely that Vegapunk made a weapon that can nuke islands. He was also talking about an eternal sun, so that might tie into his tries to create such a thing. Absolutely. Now, I have several things that I want to discuss today coming off of Presno's comment here. Obviously, a lot of different pieces of information that we can talk about throughout this 5-week break, right? For many different pieces of information, from Instant Messenger Sama to the Mother Frame / Mother Flame, the Gorosei, Fagerland, Goatman. So it's in the God Valley incident now with information that this individual did in fact was not only the residential quote-unquote king of God Valley, the supreme judge, the supreme commander of God Valley, but according to Sandman, let me actually pull up Sandman's tweet here. I shout out to Subra for pointing this out to me. Let me go on Twitter real quick. I don't know why I didn't already have this pulled up, but we are here today, ladies and gentlemen, to discuss some greatness. Now, my computer is being extremely slow, so I'm not sure if it's going to load. I think it's still recovering from the fact that I got to see my Yakuza greatness today at the Xbox Showcase. I was like, okay, it's not loading on there. So let's see if it pops up on the laptop, or is it just that Twitter's down? Let's see. Oh no, Twitter's not down. It's just that this thing is definitely not working. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to Sandman's page here, who brought up a different type of translation for the thing. Here we go. Some translations of Garling as the former king of God Valley may not be accurate enough. It is more accurate to translate him as a champion / superhero who played an active role in God Valley. Plus, unlike Viz, Mother Flame is more accurate translation, I believe. So, Sandman believes that Mother Flame is more accurate than Mother Frame, but the fact remains that Garling might actually be a champion / superhero who played a prominent role in God Valley, meaning he could have been the individual that, after the events of God Valley, might have been placed in this position of Supreme Commander of the Holy Knights after taking care of the scenario at hand. It could have even been a similar situation to what happened in Alabasta, where Roger and Garp taking care of the situation at hand, maybe alongside someone like Garling or against someone like Garling. Whatever the case happened there, the events of this place or whatever happened in God Valley before and or after, this dude received the big boy credit after that, right? And even though the place was taken out and nuked, it makes you think, like, what does Garling think about a lot of this stuff? Especially if he was the champion slash the superhero because of this event, right? Like, was he named an individual who was responsible for what took place there, potentially saving all the celestial dragons that were there, right? And that's why I'm so curious as to if he took the credit for what happened with Roger and Garp when it stated they were protecting the celestial dragons, or is, of course, there's gonna be a little more to the story here. I'm curious as to what this could actually mean, because once you're named a champion slash superhero place, then that means that you were undoubtedly a heroic figure, right? Someone who has done multiple good things within this place. And assuming that the Lunarians also come from God Valley, then it's like, what are the connections going to be here with the Figureland family, and of course with Garling? It's just, it fascinates me. It really, really does, because I want to know when it is that he received this title. Obviously, Garp, the title of Garp the Hero came after the events of this incident, right? And him becoming a legend due to multiple different instances, but specifically there, right? And then we look at Kobe, who's currently building his own legend as well. So obviously, there's multiple different events that lead into these titles. So I wonder what that was for Garling. Was it the God Valley incident? Was it leading into the God Valley incident? Because there's multiple different things, right? Whether you're a king, a judge, and or a champion slash superhero, to me is very, very fascinating. So obviously, when we look back to the panel with Garling here, where it says the man who passed the sentence was once the ruler of a place called God Valley. Today, he is the supreme commander of the Holy Knights, right? This is referring to Figureland Garland. Now we look over at TCB, which states, the judge was the former king of the land known as God Valley. He currently serves the supreme commander of the God's Knights. So very similar there, but what's interesting is Sandman adds a little more a little more spice to it, to where now, rather than just being the king, quote unquote, this is an individual who was known as like a champion, a superhero, someone who was well loved, right? Someone who, due to performing some heroic act and or receiving the credit for said heroic act, would be potentially propelled into the place where he is right now. I don't know if he was always one of the Holy Knights, because the thing is with Garland, right? We don't know if he's been around since 800 years ago through the likes of the immortality surgery, whether it be to what happened with, the Opi no Mi or whatever the case may be. We don't know, especially in this week's chapter where we get to find out more about, quote unquote, the immortality thing, which we believe is the Opi no Mi, because that's what we've seen so far in the series. But what about if they're actually referring to something else? Right? Like, we don't know. So I'm going to assume Garling has been around for ever since the God Valley incident, the 38 years ago God Valley. I'm not sure about the 800 years ago stuff, but I think that's very interesting discussion to have. And so let's go over to some more comments, because there's a lot of comments in regards to Garling and all that stuff. So continuing on this conversation with Garling, let's go right here. Let's go to Tommy Rod. Tommy Rod comes in and says, I was late for your part 1, but I was right on time for part 2. It was a crazy, crazy night, man. Anyway, what do you think about the St. Figureland Garling and the Lunarians? See, I was just asking about this. Do you think there's any connection between them? Absolutely. We know from what Marco said that back then, before the Mighty Joes came to be, there used to be a land of gods up there. If it really is God Valley up there, then Garling is a Lunarian. Imagine that crescent moon head lit with some fire. That's what I'm saying. And once again, Oda would not have all this stuff taking place if it was not going to have some sort of payoff here within the end of Egghead Island. We all believe we're going to get the Kuma flashback coming in here very soon, before the end of the arc. So if the Kuma flashback, like some of us have been speculating, actually does have at least, if not the entire thing, then fragments of the God Valley flashback, because that very well could be where a good portion of the God Valley flashback is. or where Kuma currently is within the section flashback that we got to see with the Bonnie stuff, right? If that is the case, and we find out a little bit more about God Valley through Kuma's flashback, then having this context of Figureland Garling, him potentially being the hero there, right? Maybe due to the incident with Kuma, and or what would take place later on with like Roger and Gart versus Rox. We don't know exactly, right, when he would become the super hero / champion due to those events. But I'm so curious on that. But regardless, Kuma potentially being in this place, labeled as being one of those special people, and I'm not saying that Kuma's a Lunarian, but I think it's very interesting that if this place is known as God Valley, these individuals once known as the gods that lived up in the verse, it makes me curious about the possibility of Garling now talking about, outside of the 38 years ago stuff. Now we transition over to the 800 years ago God Valley, and or the time from God Valley of 800 years ago to where it is right now, because I'm going to assume the Lunarians reigned up there for a very long time, and then that place potentially might have gone to the Celestial Dragons and or to some sort of thing, which is why Rox was so interested in this place and wanted to go there, right? Like something had to have been there, and obviously that is where Kaido got his fruit, which is a mythical fruit. That is where we believe that Kaido got Yamato's fruit as well. So it's like there's a lot of importance within God Valley, a lot of things from the past that are here. So if we were to believe once again that this is the land of gods, that was around the same time that Lunarians were introduced. Marco brought this up, right, in the chapter 1023, chapter 1022 stuff. So it's like, for me, they almost go hand in hand. And I don't know if Garling himself is a Lunarian, like I said before, but I'm so interested on that connection, because obviously the Lunarians now are becoming very prominent. The Seraphim units being fueled by Lunarian, quote-unquote, fire and DNA. The unlimited energy source potentially could have a connection to the Lunarians. So they're obviously extremely important to the overall scope of the series. I just don't know how deep the connection goes in regards to specifically Garling and the Lunarians. Garling being a Lunarian would be insane, which, goodness gracious, I think back to that flame technique with Shanks in the film Red, and I'm like, oh man, they were cooking. Ooh, they were cooking. He just lit the sword on fire, and I was like, well, so, hey, that's what we're cooking. Shanks Lunarian greatness and ooh man, I start going crazy, man. Stop playing with me. Shanks grows the one wing like he's Sephiroth. I would go mad, son. If I see Saint Figureland Garling here in the coming chapter grow a wing like he's Sephiroth, oh man, dude, I will go nuts. I will go nuts. But we don't know. We don't know, man. Because the thing is with the Holy Knights, because they serve directly under the Gorosei and Imu, or maybe just Imu, we don't know what they are, right? Like, we just know they are individuals who are capable of even passing judgment on the Celestial Dragons. That's where they are on the in regards to the hierarchy, and it's insane. It's insane how much this chapter changed how we look at the hierarchy within the Celestial Dragons. It's like, man, obviously Emu at the very top, but then it's like the Gorosei / the Holy Knights. Like, do the Holy Knights go directly under the Gorosei, or do they just go under Emu? Right? Like, it's curious stuff. I'm not sure. If you're passing judgment on the Celestial Dragons, you've got to be super high up on the tier, you know what I mean? But I'm curious. Just like you, Tommy Rod, I'm excited to find out more about that. I know another comment, Shadow comes in and says, Garling to me definitely seems to be Shanks' dad or uncle. I definitely think he's the one who scarred Whitebeard. We talked about that in the stream. As for God Valley as a whole, I think Oda's setting us up for the flashback to be after Egghead, please. But I know, like I said before, that one of the major reasons why he's saving the God Valley flashback is because we still need more context. Imagine us getting the God Valley flashback before we found out about this Figureland Shanks reveal, or Figureland Garling reveal. Right, we would have been a little perplexed, and it wouldn't have hit as hard. Now, when we go to the God Valley flashback and we see him in there, we're gonna be like, all right, like it's gonna be insane, because we're gonna have the context going into it. And If Oda decides not to show us this flashback in its entirety before the end of the arc, then like you said, after this arc, that would mean that we're gonna see something here in the coming chapters that is going to allow for a little more context to the incident that took place in the original God Valley. But I do believe the God Valley incident flashback is coming in soon because we need something to compare the Egghead incident to, right? We know we've heard the legends of the God Valley incident and how it changed the world. We know how much it changed the landscape of everything else, right? Like the emperors that would rule the modern day seas came from that incident. Roger and Garp working together, protecting the Social Dragons, huge stuff against rocks, right? Big stuff. So we need to see that soon, whether it be before or after, to be able to have something to compare the Egghead incident to, as like the true major incident that it is. At least that's the way that I see it, right? So, given the way this Rev flashback has been building up to both Egghead and God Valley mix since for 1087 to be where we go back to Egghead, I agree. I think when we come back from this 5-week break, we're cutting back to Egghead. Also, given the last 3 Seraphim were sent, we may very well see Mihawk actually use Advanced Conquerors in order to try for once, especially if he fights all 3. If Mihawk fights all 3 of the Seraphim units, that is going to be one of the most hype moments in the entire series. We have been waiting for so long to see Mihawk go in, right? Like Mihawk, obviously we saw him against Zoro, we saw him flex at Marineford, but we want to see this man go up in like swimwear against an opponent that can give him the work, right? And fighting 3 Seraphim, I mean, we see in Egghead Island right now, fighting 1 is already difficult enough. Fighting 2, I mean, look at what Blackbeard thought about just going up against Mihawk. And then, of course, the Hancock Seraphim would come in as well, and it's like, this is dangerous, right? So imagine 3, and those 3 aren't just any 3. We're talking about Crocodile, Don Quixote Doflamingo, and Gecko Moria. Like, dude, those are 3 nasty S units. Mihawk fighting all 3? I'm in there like swimwear, man. Talk to me. And we know they're heading for Empty Bluffs Island. So that is a plot point that is going to have to come back in to the picture at some point, right? That's going to be insane. So I look forward to that, whether it be Mihawk, Buggy, and Crocodile boxing all 3, or like you said, Mihawk is just like, I got this. Oh, man, dude, I need a double-page spread of that. Wakashing! I'm not ready. I'm not ready in the slightest for Mihawk greatness, man. I would definitely say that Egghead is going to end with Egghead being destroyed and Vivi announces to the world that she knows, along with her officially returning to the Straw Hats, and the Ancient Kingdom name will be revealed, like I said last time. And I'm really hoping for that, Shadow. I think at the end of this arc, the entire planet, due to Vivi revealing to the entire world, whether it be Vivi going individually to certain places and discussing these matters, whether it be through a letter, or whether it be right next to Big News Morgan's, live here on YouTube or Twitch.tv, she goes out there and displays to the entire planet with Big News Morgan's at her side that there is in fact somebody sitting on the empty throne, and that she is a D. Nefeltari, we're here! We're here for that peak, son. We are here. I would lose my mind for such things, man. So please let that be the case. Overall, these last 7 chapters were absolutely necessary and have done wonders, and I emphasize that, wonders, for the lore and setup that Egghead and future content needed. It's the thing that not only us, Kuma climbing the red line, but the Bobby Pirates are also heading to Egghead. It's like, and then Garcia Saturn, bro, pulling up on the king, man. Kizaru and Saturn also set to arrive soon, exactly. It's just crazy how many plot points and narratives and just characters that are active right now. We haven't even gotten the 4th poneglyph yet. Overall, it seems like Egghead and the final saga in general is very well planned out, and this will be the greatest saga in the story easily. It already is. It already is, man. Continuing that one, we have Not So Ancient Weapons, who also brings up a few comments in regards to God Valley and Garling here. So, Not So Ancient Weapons says, what's up, coach? Greetings from the land down under in Australia. Shout out to the Dark Continent. First time commenting here after reading this unbelievable chapter. I couldn't help but think about the Void Sentry. What even happened during the 800 years? I'm saying, man. Chapter got me thinking about Garling's involvement in the Battle of God Valley. And me too. Right, because like I said earlier, we're looking at it through 2 different scopes, right? Whether Garling has been around since the time of 800 years ago, serving under Emu for that long, or if he's only been around for like in just recent times, he still had to have been involved in some way, shape, or form with the OG God Valley incident in 838 years ago. So it's like, What side was he on? What was he attempting to do there? What did he see? Did it change his overall outlook on the world when the place that he resided over, the place that he was a superhero over, got eradicated? Like, it was absolutely nothing. Like, I wonder if he still has resentment over that, or did he agree? Did he agree on passing judgment on the people of God Valley? I don't know. I don't know, and that's what makes this entire situation so fascinating. Looking back at Lily's disappearance, the sacrifice of Lady Toki, all the way to Zunisha's punishment, all of the gods of the One Piece world, even when the Gorosei's powers, it's so much, man. I mean, I've been reading One Piece since I was 8. I never really cared about power scaling, just wanted to know all about the secrets of this beautiful world Oda has built now. Now I'm 23, still reading One Piece, and all the secrets are finally being told. Lore, peace, no regrets. Here's to the next however many years Oda decides to go on for the greatest power story ever told. Well said. Well said, Not So Ancient Weapons, man. Shout out to you for reading this story since you were 8, man. I mean, that is a really, really special attachment, right? A childhood attachment. So let's go ahead. Gold Slash comes in and says, when Dragon pulls up with the Revolutionary, it's going to be like hearing the Stone Cold music. Oh, man. Dude, when Dragon pulls up with the revs. When Dragon pulls up with the revs, it's going to be like the Royal Rumble. 30th entrant finally pulling up. Monkey D. Dragon, like you said. Stone Cold Flash Shadow were in there. You know, hell's going to break loose. Oda added again with the silhouettes because the dude did not have a crescent moon hairstyle, but somehow is still Gold Raw Fire and Peak. Somehow Gold Slash. Regarding Garling, is he the former king of God Valley from 800 years ago? And I'm so glad that other individuals are also bringing this up because it's so interesting. Or from when God Valley was destroyed 38 years ago. Exactly, Gold Slash. Exactly, man. It's like, has he reigned over God Valley for a very, very long time? Or is it only just recently? Like, after what happened with the Lunarians? Because we still don't know what happened with the Lunarians that caused them to be at the brink of extinction, right? It's just very, very interesting stuff. So, if it's the latter, it would make more sense to me as seeing as Shanks is also a Figureland. The Figureland family would have taken over after whatever royal family left for the Marijoa, just like the Riku family did for the Don Quixote family. Would have had God Valley. Garling sacrificed his family to save the social dragons, and they granted him the title of saint and made him a judge. That would definitely be the darker route, right? That would definitely be the darker route. Shanks' parents, in desperation, put their child in a treasure chest, hoping the pirates raiding would find him, since they knew the true evil of the WG. That fascinates me. I like that idea. It would honestly present a much different scenario to even like the Judge thing, right? Like I know I made the comparison to Judge in the stream for Shanks potentially having that type of story here, you know, being like a Sanji where he going down a certain path and or being destined or fated to go down a certain path, he instead rejects that and decides to do something else. It would be very interesting if Shanks' parents actually just wanted to make sure that he remained alive, and seeing someone like Roger who came in fighting for what he believed in, a pirate of extreme caliber, right, and an amazing individual. I wonder if that's exactly what happened, right? Putting him in a treasure chest, knowing that this pirate would take that treasure with them and allow him to grow and become his own individual. That would honestly be an insane twist, if true. I'm down for so many different scenarios, whether Figureland Garling is someone who despises pirates, whether he is someone who is empathetic, right, and or because he was his child, you know, to have a similar situation as like Garp, where like, man, if only you could have been a Marine, right, then things maybe they wouldn't have gone like this. You just had to be a pirate, but you know, your family, you know. I just wonder how Garling is. You know, does he love his son? And or we don't even know if he's his son, or grandson, or his uncle, or a long distant cousin. I don't know. The only thing I know is that Oda would not put that Figureland thing in there if it was for no reason, right? So I'm curious. I'm very, very curious. So, continuing your comment here, Garling being a saint is the weird part because a weird part though, since only the Celestial Dragons have been given that moniker. Crazy chapter. Have a good one. 5 weeks to go for the next one. Are we going back to Egghead? I hope so. Forgot to mention it first, but still hoping for S-Clown. S-Clown coming in soon. Believe that S-Clown is definitely coming in soon. Hopefully. That might be the last one. At this point, yeah, I think it is going to be the last one, right? The last S unit? We technically don't have an S Weevil, but I don't know if Weevil is going to have an S unit. I don't know. But Buggies will come in. Hopefully. Hopefully. Alright? So definitely looking forward to that. Let's go ahead. Man, it's so many comments. Let's go ahead and what is this? So UHLEXIX comes in and says, I think Shanks chose this specific time to go for the One Piece because he was waiting for the rebellion to pick up pace and for a new pirate era to overtake and rewrite history. I also think this change of tides was the reason why Shanks had the Devil Fruit in the first place, because he knew it would take something massive to go about changing the world as we know it. Plus, his suspected connection to Garling could mean that Shanks could have learned about certain secrets as a child. In true Luffy fashion, I don't think Shanks planned for Luffy to eat it, but it was probably for Ace since he had the Pirate King legacy in him. That very well is a possibility that we've discussed before, which would have forever changed everything, right? It all worked out for him in the end, though. It really did. But what you bring up is very interesting about Shanks potentially knowing about certain secrets of the world from a very small age. Like, could you imagine Shanks from a very, very young age? And by very young age, I'm talking from the moment that he was of consciousness on Roger's ship to whenever he started his own crew. You know, could he have learned anything? Could that have been one of the things that Roger told him before he died, or did he find did he find that stuff out on his own? Right? Like, I don't know, but it's very, very interesting. How much does he know about the real secrets of the world? Obviously, if he knows about Nika and about Joy Boy, he's got to know a considerable amount. Man. And knowing that it's Shanks, it's, oh God, I didn't even think about that. Like, if we stick with the Reverie stuff, could you imagine like Shanks in his hood pulling up, and there you see him having a conversation with, oh man. Dude, that would answer so much, but I don't think we're gonna get it. That'd be too much. But no, absolutely. There was another Shanks comment. Super Alatreon comes and says, yo, I just realized something. Sorry if y'all already talked about this, but if Garland is indeed Shanks' father, wouldn't that make Shanks a prince? And you know, when we talked about this on stream, Super Alatreon, for me, the most interesting thing about this is going to be what it does for Shanks' character. Obviously, Shanks, no matter what happens from here on out, is going to continue to become more compelling as the series progresses, the more we learn about him. But this potential possibility of him being, you know, not only just a Celestial Dragon, but super high on the hierarchy. If you are, whether he's the son, grandson, whatever it is, connected to the supreme commander of the Holy Knights who serve directly under the Imu and the Gorosei, listen, man, you are super high in the hierarchy. Which is why if he really is this, if he's a prince, or like maybe the next in line to become the supreme commander of the Holy Knights, whatever it is, that to me makes his story even more compelling, because then the personal freedom, the self-freedom he exercises means so much more to me. Knowing what he is to Luffy, it would have a different type of light on it. It would recontextualize all of those scenes we've gotten with Shanks up until this point. Because for me, having Shanks, who obviously, I don't know how he feels about his family, but if he is an individual who potentially, after finding out about his family, thinking about it long and hard, was like, man, I really want to be a pirate like Roger, but if this is what my family's doing, then, you know, what should I do? Should I attempt to go back and connect with this family that left me behind, whether it be for a good reason or a bad good reason and or a bad reason, and or is this going to be a scenario where we see Shanks being like, never having doubted him ever wanted to become a pirate, and he was just like, you know what, I am going to become a pirate no matter if I'm a Celestial Dragon or not. But it does add a lot more weight to why it is that he specified or like specifically honed in on Luffy and on you being able to do it, right? Maybe knowing certain parts of the true history, maybe knowing the true meaning of the D. He looks at himself as not only not having the D, but also being extremely high on the enemy of these individuals that are going to cause a storm in the world. I wonder how all of that factors into, you know, Shanks and his motivations, his ideals, his sense of morality, his ways of being a pirate, because that's always been one of my favorite things about Shanks, going from chapter 1 to chapter 1076, seeing how it's very consistent throughout the series. But finding out the reasoning behind that has always been so fascinating to me, something I can't wait to see more of. So if Shanks being a prince / Shanks being a member or a celestial dragon within his blood is going to be what we're going to be rocking with from here on out, which is almost 100% confirmed at this point, then I'm so curious as to how Oda is going to go about it. Not only that, but it's extremely, extremely exciting to know that one of the greatest pirates of the modern age is a celestial dragon. I just think that's such a cool idea, because Dofi obviously was a celestial dragon, Shichibukai, but he wasn't an emperor. This is a Yonko. This is an individual who is widely regarded as that dude from across the space, right? Like across the world, they know he's him. They know he's him. So, and it just goes and plays more into the, like, your bloodline, where you come from doesn't make you, type of story that's been told in the One Piece series before. And I can't wait to see that explored through Shanks, even more now, Super Elytron, than ever before. But absolutely, and speaking of that, I want to talk about the checkered fate thing. And Josh brings up the checkered fate idea, which, by the way, both the Viz and TCB brought up that exact same line on checkered fate. So this is a very implicit callback and or connection to Law saying the exact same thing, right? And also, I believe, like you're about to say here in this comment with Kuma, right? So Josh brings up the Gorosei noting that Sabo has a checkered fate is similar to what Law said, yes, and I also believe what the narrator said about Kuma. Could be some significance there as far as inherited will and fate and a more little plot element, dreams, etc. I think going from memory, I remember the narrator saying that no one has lived a more checkered life than Kuma, I believe. Also, thanks for always giving the best vibe on the YouTube. Stay healthy. We appreciate you. Nah, man. I appreciate you, Josh, for this awesome comment, because I've been thinking about this a lot ever since I talked about that, because obviously these individuals with checkered fate that we've seen so far in this story are characters that are helping those with the D in their names reach whatever it is they need to reach while being enemies of the Celestial Dragons, while being enemies of the quote-unquote gods. We've seen that through Sabo here in chapter 1085. We saw that with Law, of course, overthrowing Doflamingo right next to the King and Monkey D. And obviously, Kuma being with Monkey D. Dragon as a revolutionary. So these are individuals who have most certainly lived checkered lives and have a checkered fate. And Law, I always think about the Law statement in Onigashima and like wanting to see this checkered fate to the end. These individuals, does that mean that the three of them are going to live tragic lives to the end, right? Like where they will inevitably die before the end of the series? Or does this just imply that as long as they live, they will continue to defy those in power by helping the individuals that they were like fated to help, like the individuals of the D? Even though Law himself is a D, but I'm saying the other individuals that they have been helping throughout the course of the story, right? So it fascinates me. The idea of checkered fate now being brought up multiple times. We're more than likely going to see it even more within potentially the Void Century flashback and stuff of that nature. So I love that stuff, man. I really, really do. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about some Mother Flame and Emu stuff. There's a lot of stuff here. A lot of stuff here for Emu and Mother Flame content. Ronnie Williams says Nerona. Crazy, man. Emu of the Nerona dynasty / Emu Saint Emu. of House Nerona. It's like, man, Nerona, Nero, Ona. Nero, destroyer of Rome, setting the blaze, blame the Christians. Na Onam, kanji for female. Nero, him, plus Na Ona, female, equals Nerona, equals Emu. So look up Yokai Nir Ona. Now, this fascinates me, coming off of what Subra just told me in a Discord message about the fact that the Japanese believe that Emu, based on this most recent chapter, is in fact male. So in 1085, the conclusion was that Emu was a child based on certain ways in which the character was speaking. But now, with this chapter, according to the Japanese audience, it very well could be implied that Emu is in fact a male, which is interesting stuff, because obviously it's been half and half, where because of the design of the character, we're like, is Emu, especially about the Lily thing, right? We don't know if Emu is going to be either male or female. It doesn't really matter. But I think what you're bringing up here is very interesting, on the idea that the name itself of Nerona potentially means a character who has surpassed both being male and female. Being like a true godlike figure. I think that is a very, very interesting thing that has not been explored throughout in the story so far as an individual who sees themselves above literally everything, not just above the individuals that reside within the sky, the sea, and under the sea, right? Under the sea. Not just as an individual who goes over all that, an individual who maybe prides themselves in overcoming the limitations of humans as a whole, maybe seeing themselves as being above gender, right? Like being a universal individual. I find that idea to be very fascinating. I think it goes really well in line with the God complex thing. I think that'd be really cool. An individual who is just Emu. Like, refer to me as neither he nor she. I am the supreme figure. I think that's so interesting. I really do. I think that is super, super cool. And it would go in line with the whole shadow thing that we've been seeing up until this point. It's just interesting. It's just so, so interesting. So, Ronnie, thank you for that. We cut over. There was another Emu comment. I believe it was OMG. Shout out to OMG. Outcome says, didn't have time to watch the replay yet since I missed the discussion part, but I just want to talk about two things here. Vegapunk. I can't get fully on board this guy's because of his questionable morals. I can't believe he created the Mother Flame and just gave it to the government knowing what it can do. And, you know, this entire Mother Flame thing and Dragon potentially knowing about it, right, and being like, wait a minute, Vegapunk would not just give them this thing capable of destroying the planet, right? Like, he just wouldn't do it. Dragon doesn't seem to believe it, but dude made killing machines, seraphims, and gave it to the government as well. Besides, he said before that without taking risks, science would advance after Jimmy raised the point of having shared knowledge, but having different perspectives would cause problems. He might just be a bad guy too. I mean, we don't know. You know, after the whole York thing, who knows? Who knows, right? Also, Emu, they deserve to be the final villain. This chapter solidified my excitement for Emu as potential final antagonist more than any other chapter up until this point. Even more than 1085. The savagery in just choosing Lelucia as a location because it's close, because it's in the area. Oh man, dude. Emu. They're so bad they take Blackbeard out of the competition. I got goosebumps when they said Lelucia will be the target because it's close. I'm saying, like, man, what the hey? Remind me of the moment Hody answered nothing when asked why he hates humans. That's a scary villain. Even the Gorosi were shook. Despite all the hype this chapter brought, it still gave us emotional, intellectual meat to chew on. Gotta love Oda for that. Rip Mealsguard, you're one of the true ones. Mealsguard, I mean, as he has been throughout the course of the entire story, but especially, or not at Fishman Island, but after that, right after his change in chapter 907, and then seeing him now, you know, getting executed for standing up for what he truly believes in. Just what an incredible character. What an incredible character that represents the change that is possible within the Celestial Dragons. It's just, he is absolutely amazing. And in that same line of thought, let me bring up, speaking of Mealsguard, right here, my dog Michael Mickles coming in and says, hadn't received notification for these last couple weeks, so I'm glad I got it this time. I actually got a few comments / questions. Number one, Crocodile being a woman in the past seems to be dead thanks to a Seraphim clone who oddly still has the scar. Hey, I didn't even think about that. About the fact that his child clone is most certainly still dripped out, right? And it most certainly looks like a boy. So you're right about that. Very well that theory may very well be dead. Number two, do you think Sai and Leo attacking Charlos is a great incident that was spoke of? So we talked about this a little bit, but now that we talked about this Miosguard thing, man, it adds something completely different, right? Because now that Sai and Leo declaring themselves as members of Luffy's crew have hit a celestial dragon, where does the punishment cease? Obviously, we know that within this same chapter, Imu decides to go after Vivi, right? Now, we don't know why. We don't know why he specifically wants to go after Vivi, but we understand that Imu wants Vivi and wants to be alive. So, obviously, the Gorosei, we know Garcia Saturn's heading to Egghead to take care of that scenario. But we don't know what's going to happen with the other Gorosei, right? We understand the other Seraphim units are heading over to Empty Bluffs Island with Buggy. We understand a lot of the resources are being spread around the world to go out and make sure the world is still in balance. But I wonder if now the other members of the Gorosei are actually going to go out of their way to they don't even know where Vivi is, right? And that's going to be the dangerous part about this, is if Vivi does not get captured, and this is from the Gorosei's perspective, they don't know what Vivi could potentially do here at the end of this arc. They don't know that, or maybe Imu does know, which is why he's trying to get Vivi back, or Vivi with him before all of this stuff happens, right? Because maybe Imu, looking into what could potentially happen here in the future, especially after seeing Wapol, it's like, wait, Vivi could very well mess things up the same way Lily did. Vivi could start up another revolution. Vivi could instill hope within the people by revealing my existence. Man, it's like putting all and being like, we need to get her. We need to get her at all costs. And so going back to your comment, Michael Nichols, I do think that it's a part of the great incident, but I think it's going to be just a piece of the greater whole. Because for sure, I think it is a part of the great incident. Especially after we're a part of the Straw Hat Fleet, proudly saying with their chest, like, we're with Emperor Monkey D, right? Obviously, now that punishment is going to go straight from Sai to Leo over to Luffy. So I wonder what's going to happen there in that regard. But overall, the Egghead incident feels like everything that's currently taking place. Everything that took place within this flashback that is going to have consequences at that point in time as well. Everything happening in the modern time, right, in the present time, with Shanks one-shotting Kid and Blackbeard defeating Law, all Garp and Kuzan, all of this is happening at the same time. Whatever Dragon's about to do and the revolutionaries coming out of this flashback, it's like all of this is together. And then, of course, Vivi revealing the potential truth to the world about Imu. All of this is a part of the incident, I believe. So it's going to be just a piece. And then the third one, if you think Wapol will tell Morgans the whole truth, and if so, Morgans report honestly. So that's the thing, Michael, is it depends. Because Morgans, knowing him, receiving that news from Wapol, not even verifying the truth, it'll be so entertaining, he'll want to report it anyway. I just wonder if Oda's going to have Morgans report this truth, or is he going to have Morgans present a platform for Vivi to tell the truth, right? Because that's another possibility as well, which is what we were just talking about. So either way, I think it's going to come through Vivi. But whether it's in a newspaper article from Big News Morgans published as Vivi's words, or Vivi herself going out using Big News Morgan's WEJ as a platform to state and discuss all this stuff. And of course, like we talked about last week as well, big popular theory in the community about the Punk Records potentially displaying all this information to people's brains, straight up about what took place in the Void Century. Who knows? But one thing's for sure, at the end of this arc, big news is going to go out, and Nefeltari D. Vivi is at the very least going to be credited through either Big News Morgans and or directly in WEJ for discussing someone sitting on the empty throne, and this entire truth took place within the reverie. Sabo being framed, and Cobra's death, and what really happened there, all that stuff. All of that stuff. Vivi's gonna go ham. And it is going to be insane. It is going to be insane. And once again, I believe all of that is a part of the major umbrella of this crazy egghead incident, which is why we need to see that stuff right now. So, coming off of that, we let's go ahead and go to Alexi right here. Alexi Ungarunasu, who says, with the Void Monk theories around the corner, let me get the ball rolling. This chapter's hint at the immortality surgery was not about Emu. Instead of an eye surgery, Oro was actually foreshadowing his own immortality surgery. For real though, what a time to be a One Piece fan. Even though we just got an epic reverie flashback, I can't help but think that Kuma's flashback is yet to come in this arc. Absolutely. Absolutely. But the way things are set up, I have a feeling that the Kuma flashback will also end up being the God Valley flashback. And that's what we were talking about earlier. It very well looks like it could be the case, or at least part of it. After a chapter full of fascinating reveals, there are so many mysteries surrounding the reveals, and we're all here for it. Peak. Straight peak, Alexa. Straight peak, yo. Going into... here's some Mother... So we'll go through Mother Flame comments. I think there's 2 of them. And then we'll finish off with stuff about our return to Egghead. So starting us off here with the Mother Flame stuff, my dog Vortex. Vortex says, yo, my fellow brother from the Figureland family. You already know, man. Look at the nose. Look at this stash, baby. Yesterday was undoubtedly the funniest and best stream ever. And I appreciate that. It's the Gorosei. You know, it's their names, man. It's their names, dude. Legendary. I want to continue with how the Mother Flame is the fuel that it is needed to use Uranus. This connects with not only why Ibu couldn't use the weapon till now, but also proves that Vegapunk is still a scientist that wants the world to be better. He doesn't want to create a mass murder weapon. He just created the energy. He might have thought the energy was going to be used by the government for good purposes, but he was wrong. I feel sorry for Vegapunk. He has taken so many L's this arc. Hopefully he can make it out of this alive, and hopefully we can have Twist streams return as well during this break week. Enjoy Messi in Miami, coach. Great ending right there. Yeah, man, we need to do these Twist streams again, dude. I miss them. Man. Especially with some great fighting games out. We could definitely have a lot of fun on Twitch. There's so many things we can do there. But Messi and Miami greatness. Speaking of that, Yakuza today. I couldn't believe that they're bringing that to America. Ichiban and Kiryu are going to be in America. That's I was not expecting that in the slightest. Seriously. But going back to your comment here, Vortex. The Mother Flame thing is so fascinating to me. About this energy source, about them taking it on a test run, because that to me implies they've gotten their hands on this relatively recently, / they've had it and have waited until now was the perfect time to use it, because that's the same as that question that Dragon had before we switched off and came back to the Holy Land. Dragon was asking the same exact thing. It's like, we understand the ancient weapons are a thing, especially after Sabo was talking about what was that thing that was floating above, which we all believe to be Uranus. I think that's almost pretty much confirmed that it is Uranus. But it's like this energy source that is powering all this stuff. That to me was very, very interesting. So this Mother Flame that was brought up by Vegapunk, I really do wonder if it, like we talked about on stream, if it does have that connection to the Iron Giant returning back home and stuff, right? Like, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. So, and man, who knows, even with the Kuma stuff, going back to the Marijo as well. I don't know, but it's so interesting. Like, following that up with the Mother Flame stuff, we'll go back to Subra. Subra says, after that awesome chapter in stream, of the many things left to theorize, still I'll share some info. The first 20 families, Nerona, Marcus, Jay Garcia, Shepard, Ethan Barron, Topman, Nefeltari, rejected to become Celestial Dragons, Figureland, Don Quixote, Roswald. Charles family don't have a name for now. The remaining 8 Holy Knight families. So a total of 18. 2 missing if I'm right here. Specific pieces of information about Nerona. It might be a reference to the Roman Empire Nero, and that's what was brought up by Ronnie. There's a very interesting theory that came to mind as Nero crucified St. Peter. We have a Peter here, and he seems like a person who has some sanity in him. And yeah, that's true. And I saw a theory that was posted the other day on Twitter that I think might have come from Reddit that was talking about. I thought it was very, very interesting about the same exact thing. And it was questions to Orders of Emu. Like when Luffy's fruit is revealed as 1037 in this chapter, we see him question the reasoning behind choosing Lucia. Will there be a betrayal from him? There very well could be. There very well could be. You know, my boy, yo, man, Jew Peter, son, come on, man. Come on, dog. And then Mother Flame, this might be the UFO we saw in Torture 594 with Capone. Very well could be the case. Very well could be the case. Might have been the first time Vegapunk tried using it. As I see it, it most probably, it's again a failed replica of Uranus. However, Eternal Flame and Mother Flame have a close translation. Don't know the Japanese reference. So in a way, it might be the failed fuel of Vegapunk. So Vegapunk attempting to replicate the Eternal Flame, I could definitely see that being the case. And it's like, man, this Mother Flame thing is so interesting. You're right. Because we still need an answer for what that thing was back in chapter 594. If that really was Uranus, that's actually wild. Like, or at the very least, this Mother Flame thing, you know, the failed replica. That's fascinating. I didn't even think about that. Shanks and his family. First of all, God Valley, why was Shanks left out there by his family if they were strong enough? Rox might have tried to go against the Holy Knights, and Roger had to come in and stop Sebek. However, the question remains, why they helped the Celestials to stop Rox? That's been the thing we've been thinking about this entire time. Second thing, what was Shanks put in a treasure chest? And if Roger was in the side of the Celestials after winning, I think Figureland would claim their child. Third, what did Shanks at Roger and started crying? That's what we were talking about earlier. Did Roger really tell him about his family lineage and that makes Shanks cry? Fourth, if Roger told him his lineage, did Shanks want revenge for being abandoned, though he started being a pirate? I don't think so. I don't think I really think that he wanted to live the same free pirate life as Roger. I honestly do believe, similar to Luffy, who wanted to become a pirate because he saw freedom in someone like Shanks doing the things that he was doing. I believe Shanks also wanted that after seeing it from Roger and being on his ship, right? I do believe that it is going to be very similar for both of them. But I could be wrong. Like, we saw him steal the Gum Gum fruit. So if he's connected with WG, he might have stole that for the Gorosei, but I don't think so. In conclusion, I'll share a thought that might be far-reaching. What if Shanks is a destined person who will create the new era, and Luffy's a child who isn't restricted by destiny? Freedom and fate of Luffy. So what if Luffy's birth was the reason that fate changed? Ah, interesting. So Shanks was like the chosen child, and then once Luffy was born, it's kind of like that destiny and fate changed. There was a shift. That's interesting. Like Fishman Island, two sovereigns might be Vivi and Shirahoshi. What do you think of this point of view? In this way, I'm trying to say Shanks may not be related to them, but Shanks' purpose might have been to change the recent world, which bound him to a specific path. Luffy will free him from those shackles. I actually really like that idea. I like that idea in regards to, we know Luffy always frees the individuals that he comes across, right, from their predetermined paths and whatnot. So because that is something that has been reoccurring throughout the course of the series, who better than him freeing Shanks at some point, right? I think that's brilliant. And maybe he already did free Shanks back in chapter 1. Maybe that's exactly what he did when he passed his stride down to Luffy and started believing in the next generation. At that point on, he left the fate of the world in Luffy's hands. And he was like, I have been freed from those shackles. I no longer have to be weighed down by that anymore. I wonder, Subra. I hope you enjoyed the thoughts, Lil. Thank you and see you soon. Yo, man, great comment. Great comment, Subra. Then we've got my dog, Ali G. Here, yo, Ali G, which... Ali G, you are insane. You are insane. You are undoubtedly the Ethan Barron of this channel, all right? You are, without question, the finance god here, all right? Endgame is looking even more exciting than before. With the revelation of the 5 elders being potential beasts and the introduction of the God's Knights, Oda isn't just grilling, he's pulled out the smoker for us to enjoy the biggest feast yet. I'm saying, man. I mean, I'm telling you, ever since he bought that barbecue stove, that brand new barbecue grill, it has not been the same. It has not been the same. Like, the Gorosei, at this point in time, especially with chapter 1085 context, they are insane. Like, they are... We know they're nasty. Me looking at that final panel of Saint Figureland, Garling, tells me, like, yo, he's nasty, the Gorosei are nasty, Imu's nasty. These are the final antagonists of the series. We are ready. I can't wait. I cannot wait, man. Also, I can't help but wish for NL to return with all these symbolisms being hinted at in the past chapters. Absolutely. Absolutely. We need NL to return. Please. Please. He is still in line with what happened back in that arc. He also achieved his dreams. And you know, Jaya, like I said before, Blackbeard changing the way in which I view people being able to chase their dreams, right? Because here we have two people completely different, right, who are also very similar in what they want. And so when Blackbeard says people's dreams never end, we see that is truly exemplified through an Enel who, even after defeat, even after he was defeated by Luffy, he still got on the Arc Maxim and made it to the endless flippin' verse. The very verse, man. He made it to his destination. He accomplished his dreams. It's like, Enel, dude, come back down here and give us some peak. We're ready. We are ready for Enel to return, man. Will the real Slim Shady stand up, please? I'm ready for him. I'm ready for the return of Enel, Ali G, please. That is going to be one of the most hyped chapters in this series when it does end up taking place. And I don't want to hear a single human being telling me, oh, Enel's not going to come back. Like, we don't want to hear any of that stuff. We don't want to hear any of that stuff, man. Enel is returning. All right? He most certainly is. He most certainly is. And so, let's go ahead and read this one here to finish us off. Here we have Carpe Dio, who says, yo, gonna drop a theory here. At least one of the other gods' knights will be Saint Monkey, Saint Marshall, Saint Portgus, or Saint Newgate. Now this fascinates me. I don't think Monkey will be one, though that's crazy. I don't think that will be one. Marshall, maybe. Portgus? That is extreme, maybe. That would be wild. Roger, oh man, where did he even find Rouge? Could he have been protecting Rouge at God Valley, if that's the case? And that's how they made their connection? Say Newgate? Man, I don't know. I mean, but Whitebeard was really poor, and of course he had his town. Unless, he was also thrown away, similar to Shanks. I don't know. Saint Newgate, maybe not, but he could very well could be the case. Saint Marshall, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so. Just based on where he is right now with this, especially with Marshall Lee. Portgus fascinates me, and I know Portgus D Rouge and Portgus D Ace, right? But listen, man, that fascinates me. All right. Like, I think that's really, really interesting, Carpe Diem. I do. I think that Portgus potentially that would change the game. But then, if Portgus really is, then they wouldn't have executed him at Marineford, right? Because once you're a part of one of these families, you're not getting boxed. See, that's the thing that makes these conversations so interesting. Like, I think the Portgus idea is very fascinating, but at the same time, it's like, then why would they execute Ace? Especially with them knowing, right? Unless they solidified themselves to saying screw them after being connected to Roger. Interesting stuff there, Carpe Diem. Seriously, interesting stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, ending us off here with definitely some good food for thought. This is the end of the Afterthoughts. Thank you all so much for submitting your comments. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to all of them, but we got it done in our time limit here within the hour. It was, what a chapter. I mean, seriously, finishing off this incredible stretch leading us into the 5-week break. What better chapter to discuss than this, right? Just so many things for us to pick apart and endlessly theorize. Every single page, man, we can pick apart. And that's just this chapter, let alone the last couple, right? You combine all that stuff together, we have enough to feed us for a year, let alone for a month, man. And so I cannot wait for this series to return. But until then, we will most certainly continue to not only be speaking about this chapter, but also other related topics later on down the line. So nothing but love to the members for submitting your comments once again, and a massive thank you to everybody watching this video, because what a crazy chapter in time it's been, man. So I will see y'all next time. Have an awesome day. This has been the Afterthoughts. Take care, yo. My bad. We still have one more to read. Derek, I'm not gonna let you down for a second week in a row, yo. Derek comes in and says, this is my comment from last week's Afterthoughts that I put in too late to make the video. When to get this theory out of the way before we get back to Egghead. And I really wanted to talk about this because obviously, I mean, we're going to do an Egghead predictions somewhere within the next 5 weeks, right? Whether it be just me, a collaboration, or whatever. But, we're going to have a lot of opportunities to talk about what's going to happen whenever we get back to Egghead Island. But I really wanted to read this comment because it presents some very interesting stuff. So Derek comes in and says, so we know Vegapunk was researching poneglyphs in the Void Century. We know York told the Seraphim to avoid a certain room. We also know that Atlas and Robin are going to a certain but unknown room. The community's theories consist of 2 options: the basement, jail, or the memory room. I believe that Robin and Atlas will be going to a Void Century / poneglyph room, and we get another big info drop. I think this is interesting considering that it is Atlas that Robin is with. Because obviously we would think that an info drop like that would normally come from Ashaka, who's of course been taken out of the picture at this point in time, or an Edison or something of that nature, right? But the fact it's going to be Atlas is going to present a very interesting scenario if that is actually the case. Obviously, we've gotten a lot of big info drops so far, so what more, right? What else can we possibly get? But this is Oda we're talking about, and obviously there's still a lot to reveal, so very well could be the case. I just wonder what. You know what I mean? So Derek says, I think this theory was strengthened by recent chapters. Oda wants to show us this Emu Lily stuff so he can reveal more when we get back to Egghead. And you're right. Like I was saying before, and I've been saying throughout the course of this entire stretch of chapters, what we're seeing here on the outside of Egghead stuff is we need to see it now to have context going into the stuff that's going to take place in both the end of Egghead and in the post-Egghead stuff. So, for me, having this Emu / Lily, Nefeltari D, and all this info is going to be extremely important for what it is we're about to see here in the climax of Egghead Island. Whether it is through the arc itself and the events that are taking place in present-day Egghead, or within Kuma's flashback with stuff like God Valley and stuff of that nature. Whatever we've seen here within this flashback, Oda put that in there for a reason. For us to come in and understand and see what it is that we're going to get here in the coming chapters.